channel. If this is your first time, please go ahead and subscribe. It's your girl Kentrissa, also known as the Road Credit Princess. Today, the video that we're going to talk about is called Stop and Think. So, if you are new, go get a pen and paper so I can teach you a few things, okay? I'll wait. All right, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to talk about is interactions with other humans. Let's do an example. Let's say you were standing in line for a concert or waiting to get your food and someone walked in front of you. How would you respond to that interaction? Remember, guys, the name of the title is called Stop and Think. So we want to be very cautious, cautious of the things that we do. We don't just want to react, we want to think about these things, right? So what would you do? Leave me a comment below and let me know what would be your response. My reply would, I wouldn't give it energy. I would be so wrapped up in my own little world. I love listening to music, so I would be in my own world. I probably wouldn't even notice. Sometimes people do things because they want a reaction, because they're upset, so they need someone to be upset so they can kind of like transfer energy, but you couldn't do it with me. Let me know in the comments below, what would you do? The second thing that I want to talk to you about when I say stop and think is credit. It is the holiday season coming up, and I know a lot of you guys you want to impress your family, but you're not thinking about the long term. In January, in February, when those credit cards coming in, the interest rates are super high and you're in over your head and you're barely able to make the minimum payments. So stop and think before we go and purchase all that unnecessary food, unnecessary beverage, unnecessary whatever, okay? Stop and think. If you are loving this video, guys, can you please leave me a comment and let me know? I appreciate it because I'm loving the video. Relationships, stop and think. Before you just jump into something, stop and think. Study the subject. That is one of the, I love to study people. I'm like really good at studying people. So study the subject, okay? Stop and think before you react. Yeah. Work. Let's say, do I put this before my family, right? Oh, this is a good one, guys. Okay, so I don't know if any of you guys watched the Hugh Hefner story. Well, they talked about his daughter in that video. And his daughter, they asked her a question. They said, if you could describe your father, what would you describe him as? And she said her favorite uncle. All right, so I say that story to say, stop and think. When we think about work, what do we put, what is more priority? Our children, our wives, our mothers, our siblings. Like, what do we deem as importance? Like, I want to make sure I'm there for graduations. I want to make sure I'm there for your baby shower. I want to make sure that I'm there for family events. I don't just want to prioritize work because, like I said, remember the Hugh Hefner movie where the daughter referred to her husband, not her husband, her dad, as she remembered him as a favorite uncle. Go watch the biography. I'm not making this up. This is true. This man was like the famous guy, and his own daughter referenced him as a favorite uncle. Like, that's one of the things I would never want to be referenced, no matter what the legacy is. I don't want to be labeled, I'm your parent, as a favorite uncle or a favorite aunt. I want to be labeled as that was my mother. I had great memories with her, and we enjoyed life together. And she inspired me and she encouraged me. All right, so stop and think. What is more important? We always want to think about the end goal, okay, guys? When it comes down to credit as well, stop and think before you go and purchase those cars. Stop and think before you go and purchase the houses. They had a lot of articles I just read recently about a lot of the things that we're going to be purchasing now are going to be smaller. The homes are going to be smaller. The cars are going to be smaller. I'm going to try to find an article and list it in below. If I forget, just leave me a comment. I promise I'll put it in there someday. Stop and think. We have family members that we do not like to be around, we don't want to engage with, but stop and think why they're placed in our lives. Maybe they're placed in our lives to help us with our triggers. Maybe they're placed in our lives for, we don't know the reasons why, but stop and think. If they're added value, then it's easy. If they're not added value, you just have to figure out a way to navigate the relationship to where you are not drained and exhausted because of their energy, and just love them from afar. So guys, that is my segment of stop and think before we react. Stop and think before we go and purchase all of those items, and then we come next year and we cannot pay the minimum payment. Guys, if you enjoyed yourself, give me some love in my comments. Please like this video, share it. It is your girl, Kentressa. I am the Real Creative Princess. Until next time, bye-bye for now.